having me. The first thing I want to say is I'm not talking about my abuse because I don't feel that's important. What I feel is important is that you never give up. You find your way. There's always going to be setbacks. You'll jump 3 steps forward and 10 back, but you keep getting up. And it's not about how many times you fall, but how many times you get up.
Yeah.
And there is doors open everywhere if people look for them. But then they have to choose, am I going to go through this door and take this challenge, or am I too scared? So I'm just going to walk past that door.
Hmm. Okay. Well, we can end this podcast right now because you just gave us a whole bunch in that. And usually I'll ask at the end and if you have any you've already encouraged us. Thank you for that. That's true. Sometimes, there are different thoughts about that. People believe they have to go back and relive it. I don't believe you have to relive what you've gone through. I believe that yes, you have to deal with what you went through. We have, because if we don't deal with it, then we have emotions that become blocked and stuck there and causes all kinds of havoc in our lives.
Stay a victim.
Yeah, and even, at my age now, I am going back. I am uncovering things that have been stuck in me for since I was a child. But I don't have to relive some of the things. And I think that makes a lot of sense. You deal with the emotions that are there. And like you said, you seek the help if you need more help and you move forward. So I think that is excellent advice. And some people have to feel that they need to do something like talk therapy. They need to talk to somebody. They need to leave it out that way. Others can get through it in different ways in their own personal life. I work with people who I use movement to help move those emotions out, or at least allow them to become aware of them, to allow the movement to bring them joy. And so there's different ways that people can, you know, overcome and rise above what they've been through. So,
Yes.
thank you.
Therapy is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Another thing that helps a lot of people is write down what you're feeling, write down your angers or whatever hurts you have in you,
Mm-hmm.
and crumble them up and burn them,
Mm.
like taking out the trash.
Yeah, I like that. That's good.
I'm a co-host for true crime, and we have this thing about an elephant. Synova, she said this. She's who I work for. Um, Learned helplessness. Now you put it with baby elephants. They are chained to those posts. They cannot move.
Mhm.
But you ever notice an adult elephant only has a rope? They're the strongest animal in the world.
Mm.
They can't move because they were taught so young, I can't do this.
Mhm.
So they don't even try. They give up.
Mm.
And we can't give up. We have to remember or find that strength, or
Right.
we will stay tied down.
Yeah, that's a really good word picture of that being tied down and not being able to be who were truly created to be, you know?
Yeah.
So you mentioned, and that's where I was going to go next, that you are a co-host on this true crime stories. We will post any links below that you have given me so that people can check these things out. What is the name of it again?
Chasing Justice Synova Cantrell.
Okay.
Uh,
Tell me
we
about that.
we get cases brought to us. We have a form to be filled out, and we also keep up with what's coming up or what's in the news now.
Hmm.
You know, we work with families. We educate families. We don't just talk about the crimes. We want to educate families
Okay.
because too it's too easy to scam people at the lowest time in their life.
Mm.
And as victims advocate, and I mean, I've been a part of a search and rescue, so I've been boots to the ground. I know the ins and outs more how the law and things like that work, but I also see where there's uh, conspiracies going on and cases that should be looked at more. They're not being looked at because they weren't investigated right the first time. And we try to get it out like somebody, come on, look at this case. It's not what you think it is,
Hmm.
um, and and the cases that if we didn't bring them out, nobody would know about them.
So are these cases open cases that have never been solved? Are they?
Yeah, a lot of them are cold cases, missing persons cases. Uh, we
So for those, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but for those who don't know what a cold case is, can you explain what that
cold
is?
cases when they can't find any evidence to go anywhere with it, so it just sits there
Mm.
until new tips come in or somebody comes forward, and that's the big problem.
Hmm.
People know things but are afraid to come forward.
Mm. Yeah. I saw, actually saw a headline the other day of, I think it was yesterday, of someone, a woman, I think it was a woman that was missing for like 62 years was
Yes,
found. I don't know
yes,
if you saw that. That blew my mind.
yeah, that warms my heart. It doesn't happen much, but there are many cases where uh person could be missing 40 years,
Wow.
and be safe
Wow.
because maybe they were kidnapped, but were kidnapped because the person wanted a child. So
Hmm.
that those kids are brought up in a loving family. But the truth comes out, and then, and that's like a catch 22 because now that, we found who kidnapped this child, but now we're going to take that woman who raised this child with love, even though kidnapping is wrong.
Hmm.
But that's the only family that child knew, and
It's
you're ripping
wild.
it
I
apart.
can't imagine having something like that happen and then just totally, I mean, your world is turned upside down once, and then this comes along and it's just it blows my mind. It really does.
Yes, and identity. I didn't have an identity. I was born without an identity. That's what I say. Um, and if you don't know who you are, that messes with your head.
Mm-hmm.
um, which is why I go by the name Cricket, because I did not even know how to spell my name until I was in the third grade. Nobody took the time to teach me the correct spelling of my name.
Mm-hmm.
So I was taught, I just assumed it was one way, and then was told, no, it's not that. It's spelled with this letter. And so I started writing it that way. And then it's like, no, it's only with one N. And I like, you know what? That's why I have like issues with when people spell my name wrong. So I prefer Cricket, you know
Yeah.
and it's easier. Like if and I started this on I was with the Guardian Angels, which is a worldwide organization Curtis Leiball started, that we had a chapter in Easton.
Hmm.
So, I walk those streets, and if I hear my real name, I will not respond unless I recognize the voice.
Hmm.
If I hear cricket, then I know you're talking to
Mm.
me.
Okay.
But yeah, like all these organizations have helped me become who I am. The
Mm.
the guardian angels, I got self-defense with them, and that built my courage.
Hmm.
So things that I could not deal with before, and now I can deal with.
Mm.
They don't scare me. And if you're gonna yell at me, then you know I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
but I
I can imagine that, growing up with, in the situation that you were in and then being in the foster care system, that you would have some fears,
yeah, I was born with extreme intuitiveness,
Hmm.
which helps me survive. My ears are supersonic,
Mm.
and I feel that God just tells me what I need to know,
Hmm.
because I know things I can't explain or couldn't as a child because I didn't understand,
Mm.
you know.
Hmm.
Uh, but it's he's always helped. Um, but because of being in foster care and bad homes, I learned to be sneaky.
Hmm.
You have to survive. I learned to twist situations so it's not so hard on me.
Hmm.
I was invisible. I tried to be invisible as much as possible, because if I'm invisible, you can't hurt me.
Hmm.
But all those things that were survival skills for me in the past now are skills that I use in what I do
Hmm.
today.
Yeah. So when you were a child, talking about those intuitive uh, attributes and skills that you have, did you did you know, like, when you were a child, that one day you were going to, do you ever have that sense that, well, I'm gonna make something of myself. I'm going to be helping others. Did you have any sense of that? Like, when
You
I
know,
get out of this, or
I couldn't look into the future because it was too intimidating to me.
okay.
But what I did do is, if I saw a fault in myself, I was able to do what I had to do to fix that fault.
Hmm.
Like, because I was in abusive homes, and I love children. I love children. I've worked
Hmm.
with them forever. Um, but this is an example. I hit my younger foster brother,
Hmm.
and it instilled this the thing in me. I said, no, this is not what I want to be like.
Hmm.
So I want the first job that I did was working with children, because I wanted to learn how to work with children the correct way, how to learn their psychology, all those things.
Hmm.
And that that started me on my, because a child advocate was my first advocacy that I
Yeah.
did. Um, but and I always wanted to be involved in criminal justice. Like that thing has always been with me.
Was
Um,
that something, because do you think that was something, sometimes we do things, because I've looked at this for myself recently too. Like, sometimes we do things because of what's happened to us,
yes.
where, but or, I kind of see it sometimes too, is like that's the path we've traveled. We've taken it and turned it into something worth something, you know,
Yeah.
for to others. But is it truly, like I had to look at myself as, is it truly my purpose? Am I really supposed to be doing this, what I'm doing right now? So is it something that you feel that this is who you were created to be, what you're doing now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, because growing up, with all the abuse, and you have to be highly. It's like standing by a bear 24/7.
Mhm.
That's how you feel. That fear is 24/7.
Mm,
Um, and I always liked children. I did do what I could to protect younger siblings in the foster home. I would take that, bring
mhm,
attention to me instead of hurting that child. Um, so I've always been a protector,
mhm,
and I've never been a child. I've always, I had to be put in that
mhm,
situation from a very young age. And
mhm,
so for protecting children, that's always been strong. But there was a case, the boy in the box. I was like 15 years old, and I I talked to this child. I was like, I'm gonna find out who you are. Now, I did not personally find out who he was, but I have never given up. I have taken the case to other people, and he has his name. That's the only justice that he can get, and that warms my heart.
mhm, mhm,
Um, but people are always going to try to scam you, lie to you, get something out of you. And I think because of what I went through,
mhm,
I can spot it.
mhm.
So I will, that's, if you're trying to victimize people and I see it, I'm stepping in.
Yeah. In your experience in foster care, have you seen that as a common thing with other children, or do you think it was, the whole standing up for each other or being protective, or do you think that was something it doesn't
Well, I,
happen with everybody really?
I think it happens to those who have that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I may upset people when I say this, but I came to the point where I'm not a victim, and I never was a victim because I never thought like a victim. We didn't have that word tossed out, so I'm not. I can't claim that, and I never will.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you say you're something, you're gonna be that. You
Right.
know, if working with kids, if I say, go in saying, "Oh, these kids are gonna give me a headache," guess what?
Yeah,
I'm gonna get a headache.
exactly. Yeah.
So
So
uh,
important.
that's, I want to kind of stop the stigma about that. And also, I felt like, because I've been on other like blogcasts for abused children,
Mm-hmm.
to help others, and they would always refer to me as she was a victim, and I'd hold it in, feeling like, well, if I say something, then they're gonna get mad. But then I was feeling like I'm being kind of targeted.
Mm-hmm.
You're putting a name on me that I don't like.
That you don't put on yourself.
Right.
How do you, or why do you think that you never, was it just innate in you that you just never felt that way? Like I'm sure that you were feeling some kind of way when you were a child and all this was going on, but you
I
never
I
took on that role. So how do you think you had that mindset?
I think I just because I was fighting to survive before I was even born.
Mm.
And
Okay.
so that's all I knew. So I was, when bad things were happening, instead of me, woe is me, and putting myself in this, like, I can't get out of this, I can't get out of this.
Mm-hmm.
I would take my mind somewhere else to think, how can I get out of this? What can I
Mm-hmm.
do to change this?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's always been my mindset. It's always been that survival. What can I do?
Mm.
I
That's
never
amazing.
thought, I never thought of myself as a victim.
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah,
amazing. And that's so encouraging to others, I'm sure. If, to hear, especially those who have come from that system.
yeah. I mean, and we're given labels all the time.
Mm-hmm.
My labels growing up were stupid, you're not good enough, like all negative things. I believed all those negative things.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was calling me a victim, so I was never a victim.
Okay.
But I was stupid. I would, those which I had to get out of that too. But because when constantly told these things, that's what you believe.
Yes. Yeah. So you you made the statement that you never had the opportunity to be a child.
Right.
So as you grew older and realized that, was there anything you did about that? I mean, did you take time to be a child? Are you taking time?
Well, with my the one thing that the good thing that the CPS did for me, I call them Child Predator Services. There are good ones out there, and I commend you all. But I speak for the ones that are nobody's thinking of,
Mm-hmm.
the ones slipping through the cracks.
Hmm.
Um, they sent me to a Girl Scout camp for 2 weeks. Now, my foster parents could not say no.
Hmm.
That was the best 2 weeks of my life up till that point.
Hmm.
And the following year, that was my first job. And that's when I started become seeing who I was
Hmm.
and becoming a kid. Because, even if you're a counselor, you're acting like a kid.
Yes.
And I've always been a kid since, you know what I mean? Since
Hmm.
then. But as a child, I always had to be alert and, watching out for this one and,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. And I think that and because I remember you talking frequently about your camp experiences and I also was a camp counselor. It was like one of the first things I did when I was a teenager, but I also did it when I was an adult and needed to, do some extra work at the Y and I think that that was probably a turning point also, right, for you. You found
yes.
something where you could uh
Yeah, I wasn't being judged. Uh, I didn't have eyes on me 24/7,
mhm,
like there's always a thumb on you.
mhm,
But up there, I was free. I wasn't being judged. They didn't know where I came from. I mean, I was not in a good space yet. I mean, I
mhm,
did my job well, you know,
right.
but like the nightmares were still there, and that's why cricket is appropriate for me because if I would wake up uh, having a nightmare and I'd hear the crickets, I knew I was safe.
Oh,
So cricket is a safe name, you know.
right. I love that. That's
Yeah,
beautiful. That is really beautiful. I
but
mean,
there's
yeah.
yeah, there's always things that you can do. Um, Even when you think it's impossible, don't ever think it's impossible.
Mm.
I mean, I haven't been up to my camp in the past few years because health reasons, but I would still go up there every year, Labor Day weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I got my son up there. After he graduated, I was like, something told me if I don't get him up there now, it's not going to happen. And it was so important to have my son walk those trails with me. He heard all the crazy stories, but to actually have him there with me,
Mm-hmm.
that's my heart.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So, how then did you get involved the with the podcast that you're with now? The
Well, I met so many people with being a victim's advocate across the board.
mhm,
That's how Synova and I crossed paths. So we've been friends for a long time, and
mhm,
you know she's been doing this, so now I help her out, and I love doing it. Um, because I'm still helping people, even though I can't be out on the streets.
mm,
You know,
yeah. Have you has there been any significant breakthroughs in any of the cases that you are all working on or following or
well, there's Sonova has a book out, and this kind of cracked us up. Somebody brought a case to us from Madison County, Missouri. Well, that one case turned into 15 cases, which turned into a book.
Mm,
So,
wow.
uh, yeah, it's just crazy. But you know, and we're not saying that it's all corrupt, but there's some things that are fishy in cases, you
Hmm.
know, and they don't want to change it. You
Yeah.
know, once they put something down on a death certificate, that's it. They it's like it's signed in gold,
Hmm.
you know, and it's ridiculous.
Well,
And
we could get into a whole discussion about why that is and where that comes from as as far as the dead man and the straw man and all that the government.
yes,
You
and
know.
and, and I do everything I can for anybody that I help.
Mhm,
But when it comes to foster children, I have to be louder.
mhm,
Um, because foster children aren't, and I'm not saying this, I'm saying this as the way people think of them.
mhm,
Foster children aren't anything. They're just bad kids. So
mhm,
what if they run away? You
mhm,
know, an organization I was in, uh, to help rescue and find missing kids. When I would call CPS for foster kids, oh, I would get so mad at them. They could not take 5 minutes to fill out the form to get this organization involved.
mhm,
Now, there were a few that did, and you know what? Those kids were found.
mhm,
The other ones, they don't. And two local teenagers, several years back, they ran away together. One was a foster child,
mhm,
so that one never got on our case. But I was put on the case. That was the first time I was a state lead
mhm,
for this investigation or this organization. Now we found the other girl, and the cops said we couldn't we could grab the other one. She got away too fast. I don't believe that for a minute.
mhm,
And I had put that foster organization on blast on live. I don't play.
Hmm.
I can't. Lives are at stake, and this this is a this case is always going to be part of me because they were sisters that were adopted. They were uh they put the label on them that the worst ones unadoptable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, the woman that adopted them, she adopted like five children that were severe. Now these two girls, one was 16. She was taken away from her adoptive family because she got hooked on drugs. The reason she got now, not saying there's always a reason things happen, not
Right.
an excuse.
Right.
But the reason she started using was her brother had committed a word I can't say,
Hmm.
and that affected her and the other sister. And the other sister was, they all had rad, which we it reacted. You can't attach
Hmm.
to people,
Right.
uh, and anger. So the the younger of them cut the other one's leg because she wanted to be with her brother.
Mm-hmm.
So the foster care system stepped in and made the mother, because they will lie.
Hmm.
She signed a paper thinking that she was getting help for the older one. And the younger one, her medication needed to be looked at. So she had to sign a paper for her to be put in a institution just for 2 weeks, just to get her medication regulated. Well, when I came into the picture, that that younger one was already in that institution for 2 years.
Hmm.
But because I was on the case of the other one who jumped out of the caseworker's car, she
Hmm.
jumped out of that car, and that caseworker did not try to find her. She knew she was being trafficked, did nothing.
Hmm.
And I lit the fire under her, which got it moving to get the other one moved back home. And that caseworker got fired, as did her, um, what you call it, the person above her,
Mm.
manager,
Supervisor.
whatever.
Yeah. The supervisor. Yeah.
Yeah. Now here's what breaks my heart. Those kids were so messed up.
Hmm.
By the mental institution had the one girl on 15 medications,
Oh my.
took her off 9 of them cold turkey before she went home.
Oh.
That child passed away before she turned 17.
Oh. Oh.
And the other child is just a mess.
Oh my goodness.
And,
Ah.
and casework, I understand that there's a lot that, but it's kids for cash. And that's what gets me. It is kids for every child
Yeah.
has a price tag. Every child.
Yes. And I think we are in a time now that people are waking up more. They're coming to, oh, they're seeing it. It's things are being exposed more and more of the dirty stuff. That's what I'm just going to say that
Yeah,
goes on in these agencies, and it's just pure evil.
it is. And it's all for money.
And it is. The love of money, as we know, is the root of all evil.
Yes,
And it just, I have such a heart for foster children, and especially those who have aged out of the system. Um, to see, you know, to hear about some of the things that are going on and have gone on is just heartbreaking. And you feel like, I think that's what most people feel like. Well, it's so overwhelming. What can I do about it? But here you are, and this is really a truth that has come to me just in the last week about making a sound and using your voice. So many thoughts are running through my head right now, but as you have come through this system and you are using your voice to encourage, to educate others, to help in the ways that you are telling your story. And as you tell your story, it gives others the freedom to be able to tell their story, which I literally saw this picture this week of just the army coming together. This is an army. The more that we tell our stories, the more that we
yes,
share our victories, the more we encourage others to be speaking their truth and then to move forward. I see the picture of the army growing, 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 and then the
yes,
light that shines is so bright that it just the darkness can't be there because the light is there, right?
yep. I
It
think of every single person is a link to a chain,
Mm.
and the more links that get together, the longer the chain is getting, and we are wrapping around.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's a beautiful word picture there too. Yes. And so, what would you say to somebody? I mean, you've said so much already. Somebody who maybe does have a heart for seeing children freed from trafficking or from being in the foster care system, and but they just feel overwhelmed and they don't know what to do to start. What would you tell them to do?
Well, this is one thing social media is good for.
Mm,
You can be an advocate on social media.
mm,
You know, there's foster groups out there. There's met tons and tons of missing groups that get flyers out. There's if you do YouTube, you can get the cases out that way. Whatever skills you have and whatever is around you, use it.
mm. Yeah. Or just start speaking with other people, right? What
Yes,
you're learning, share it with others. Share it with your family,
yes,
with your friends, and start from there.
yes,
Don't be
and
silent. I think we're
it's
done. I
also
think we're done being silent. I think we're done being silent with all this stuff.
yeah. And there's things, I mean, I do post them, but nobody pays attention. Um, I try to post safety things that women can do, children can do. You'll have to find there's a video for this. You could get a clip that what that if if know the sign when somebody is in danger. They put their thumb in their palm and fold the other fingers over their thumb. That means help. So if you see somebody in the mall and a woman or a child is doing that, you know they need you.
Yeah, I've seen that video.
Yes, and there's also do not ever, if you have flyers on your car, anything that's put on your car, if you go grocery shopping or anything like that, leave it there till you get home.
Mm.
Because traffickers use those things too.
Yes. And
to, and they also zip ties on the door handles. You know,
yeah, and the struggle is real where this is concerned because, as you know, I have a nonprofit organization where our instructor, Thurston Gill, teaches all things emergency preparedness and safety and
yes.
security, personal protection for women. And we, you know, uh, even a couple months ago, we offered a free class in an area and no one signed up for it. And I think what happens is people, number one, okay, we're all really busy. Our lives get, our day gets started. We've got so much to do. We're overwhelmed these days. But, I don't understand why people are not coming, why they are not unless they're learning these things online. But our stance is that, you have to practice these skills and you need to practice them consistently.
Oh yes.
You
And
know,
if my health was a bit better, I'd be out there with you guys
I know.
uh to
Yeah.
help demonstrate.
Yeah, I know you would. You came to one of our classes years ago. I remember that.
Yes.
I still have those pictures. But
And also it's not about, a lot of people think, well, this because that's a big man and I'm just a little old thing. I was 104 pounds when I joined the Guardian Angels, and I was taking them down.
Mhm.
I was learning how to take people down. And yeah, it's we're not really beating each other up,
Right.
but they don't let they don't go easy on you because you have to know us. You have to. If they're going to go lightly on you and you come in a situation on the streets, you're really not going to be of any help.
Right. And I think, even starting, like you said, at the point of being aware, and I think people are waking up and are becoming more aware because of people like yourself and us, our organization, just getting it out there, social media, like you said, speaking to people about it. So that's the first step is to awaken and be aware and then take action.
Yes, if there's
Yeah.
organizations in your area, things, look into getting involved with that. And
Yes.
everything I did, because I didn't, I couldn't go to college. I didn't have money to do that.
Mhm.
And I knew what I wanted to do, but not really what I wanted to do. But all along, there's, I first the camp, then the daycare teacher. Um, uh, and with the advocacy stuff I do, I joined the Guardian Angels and went on my first search in Georgia, and that started me on the ball for all of this that I'm doing now.
Yeah. And well, I am so, you know, I met Cricket on the street years ago, and what a pleasure. You really you've made an impact in my life. I don't know if I ever told you this, but
You
you
have in mind to,
just from listening to your story and just your attitude of gratitude and the whole attitude of not being a victim. I just congratulate you on
thank
where you are in your life now. I've seen you deal with some pretty rough situations as far as your health goes, and I know that you are not just a survivor, but you're a thriver. And I want to thank you for all that you're doing and all that you have done in the past. And yeah, I just want to encourage others that as you listen to this podcast, that you would really sit down with yourself and think about who you were really created to be, truly created to be, and to take a step forward in that, to one, even if it's one little step, one action step forward, because the world needs to hear you make your sound.
Yes. And
You,
listen to the kids too. Um, the two girls I was telling you about. The older one. Now, I never get involved like on a personal level with any kids that I've been involved with in any way, shape, or form
Mhm.
in bringing them home. But there was something with this one, and she's the one that it just hit me. I'm like, oh my gosh, everything that I needed as a child, every person that I needed to come to my rescue, I have become.
Mm. Yeah, I love that.
And sex trafficking, people think it's one thing. It's not warehouses and all that all the time.
Hmm.
Uh, Sex trafficking is done within families.
Yeah,
It's in your backyard.
yeah.
No matter where you live, it is in your backyard. And if you don't know what to look for, those girls are as good as gone.
And boys.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this has been a just a delightful time, and I'm so encouraged by you and to hear where you're at. And we're going to link below how you can get involved, or how you can take a listen to the other things that Cricket is doing. And we'll have to do an update in the
Yes.
future to see how things are going with you. I'm just blessed to have had this time with you. And yeah, so everybody, thank you for being here. Thank you for hitting the like button, the thumbs up, the commenting, sharing, subscribing. It's all free. You don't have to pay for anything. So
And
help us to get the word out. And
yeah, and I want to leave with this. When I was told no, I found a way around it. Where
mm,
there's a will, there's a way, and I will find it.
that's it.
And everybody else can too. You just have to think. Your brain is the strongest weapon you have. Use it.
Amen. All right. We'll see you next time on The Sound. Ciao.
Bye.